Hello, I'm Josh Skank with AustinHomesForSale.com. Today I'm going to discuss one of the bigger questions that we get with our potential buyers, and that's how does the home buying process work? The home buying process is basically split up into two phases. First phase being that of finding a home and getting it under contract. Second phase is getting that house to close. So during the first phase, there's going to be an initial consultation between the potential buyer's agent and the buyer. During that initial consultation, we're going to talk about types of homes they like, if schools are important, neighborhoods, and generally everything that's important to them in their home buying decision. The second thing is going to be information about broker services. This is going to outline the responsibilities of a buyer's agent and how a buyer can be represented by a buyer's agent, making sure that everything that they share with you is kept confidential and that you are negotiating on their behalf. If that seems to be a good fit, then you're going to move into a buyer's representation agreement, which outlines the responsibilities of the buyer to the buyer's agent and the responsibilities of the buyer's agent to the buyer. Okay. Once that is signed off on, then we're going to make sure that the buyer has spoken with the lender, filled out a lender's application, is getting a credit check, and going through that process. This in turn will allow us to understand what type of financing that they can receive and exactly what sort of price point we should be looking in. Once we've determined that, then the buyer's agent will start sending houses in that price point. We'll start previewing homes for a buyer's agent. And once we've kind of narrowed down a neighborhood and types of homes that they're interested in, then they'll both go out together and take a look at these potential properties. Once a potential property has been picked, then the buyer's agent is going to help the buyer put together an offer, submit it to the seller, negotiate all the terms of that offer, and once the seller's agreed to all those terms, we're going to move into a final contract. At the time of final contract, then the buyer is going to be responsible for writing 4 checks. First check is going to be the option fee check. This usually runs between $150 to $250 and buys a 7 to 10 day option period, which really gives the buyer the unrestricted right to cancel the agreement for any reason, but allows them to do their due diligence on the property as well. The second check is an earnest money check. This is usually written for about 1% of the agreed upon price. This shows the seller that you're serious about buying their home and asking them to take it off the market. The third check is a home inspection check, and that is usually costs around between $300 to $500. And then the fourth check is between the lender and the buyer for appraisal and credit check. Once we've reached that final contract, then we'll enter into the option period. During the option period, there are 2 things that the buyer is responsible for. First is to start calling around to home owners, insurance companies, and to get a homeowner's policy and providing those quotes to their lender. The second, the buyer's agent is going to assist with and finding a home inspector to do an inspection. Once the home has been inspected, then the buyer's agent is going to sit down with the buyer, go through that inspection report, look for any necessary repairs, usually looking for really big things like roofs, plumbing, HVAC, foundations are the big ones. Once we've determined what repairs we would like the seller to take care of, then we are going to present those to the seller, and the buyer's agent is going to negotiate for those repairs. Once both parties have agreed on what repairs will be taken care of, put together an amendment, and both parties will sign off, and we will enter out of the option period. Once entering out of the option period, then we move into phase 2. During phase 2, we're going to have the mortgage company order an appraisal. That appraisal is going to be received. They're going to add it to the packet that they've put together with your loan application and all the other necessary paperwork and provide that to the underwriter. The underwriter is then going to review that packet and make sure all conditions have been met, and once those have all been met, then they're going to give final loan approval. At that time, then title company will then order a survey if necessary. Sometimes we can use the existing, but they're also going to do a title search. And during that title search, they're going to be looking for any liens or encumbrances that are on the property and make sure those are all removed to provide a clear title for the new owner. Once that's taken care of, then we're going to ask the buyer to start calling utility companies and transferring utilities over to their new property. Okay? And then the mortgage company is going to get final documentation, send that over to the title company. Title company is going to take those final docs and they're going to put it into a HUD-1 statement. The HUD-1 statement is then going to be presented to the seller and the buyer, which will be reviewed with the buyer and the buyer's agent, and that's going to determine what needs to be brought for closing costs, down payment, and an overall check that needs to be brought to close. Once that number is determined, then the buyer will be responsible to get a cashier's check for that number, and then they will bring it to final close, sign off on the documentation, hand over the check, and then the title is going to take all documentation from seller and buyer, send it to the lender. Lender is then going to send all monies to all parties, and that's what we call getting funded. Once the house is funded, then you're the proud new owner of a new home. So I hope this enlightened you a little bit on the home buying process. Certainly if you have any additional questions, please feel free to visit us at www.AustinHomesForSale.com or give us a call at 512-887-4849.